Simply Cooking by MmmChef is brought to you in part by Findlay Foods, offering wholesale food distribution services in Ottawa, Kingston, and all points between since 1986.
Ever wanted to throw a holiday cocktail party and don't know what to serve? Well, head on into the kitchen with me, where I'll show you some recipes that will make your guests' mouths water. Above all else, I'm an in-home private chef, and one of my favorite things to do is dinner parties for clients. I've been hired by a client to do a holiday cocktail party, which is one of my favorite services to offer. So I'm just going to show you what it's like to have me come over and serve your guests. I usually bring my assistant with me. Tonight we're doing a dinner for 8, and she's going to be able to serve the food while I finish plating. I love to start every single party that I do with an abundance board, if that's something they'll let me do. So I've already prepared my board, and she's gonna take it out to my guests. This way, she'll place it on the table, and they can serve themselves and make their own plate while we focus on finishing everything else. She will also make sure they have a glass of wine, a glass of water, whatever they need. She'll act as the host so that the guests who are the guests of honor, the people who are hosting the party, they can enjoy their own fun instead of worrying about their guests. This is one of the loveliest appetizers that I get requests for. Today we're going to be making, I think, 6 or 7 little different bites. We've got some smoked salmon on cucumber rounds here. I've already put them together because all they are is a slice of fresh cold cucumber with some fresh smoked salmon, some fresh dill that I've got to garnish each one. I'm going to squeeze some fresh lemon on top of the platter. Oop. Make sure I get that seed. We're all about presentation here. And she's gonna take this out to the guests and pass it around. Along with that, I'm doing, in this segment, I've got some Caprese skewers. They are also one of my most requested items. They can be done in many different ways. In the middle of summer, you might want to intertwine some fresh pieces of basil or other types of herbs in here, but it's the holiday season, and I'm doing it this way. I have times where I'm doing parties with people who have different dietary restrictions. So today we have some people who are dairy-free and some people who are not. So I've done some skewers on one side that have no bocconcini cheese inside, and I'm doing a few more that do. I call these Caprese skewers because they're like a Caprese salad on a skewer. We've got cucumber, cherry tomatoes that we've already cut in half, olive, kalamata. If you have guests that don't like olives, you can leave those off as well. Another little cucumber, and that bocconcini cheese. There we go. I think I'm gonna make one more. This is a great thing. Oh, I just spilt my balsamic, but I'm gonna pour it on after anyway, so that's okay. It's just like a preemptive marinade. I love to do little skewers like this. It's fun to pass them around. Guests really seem to love it. It's fun, they get to grab it, and my assistant will walk around with napkins collecting everyone's skewer so that nobody has to hold their garbage in their hand. I'm going to garnish this with the rest of this balsamic vinegar. Make sure I pour it on the little balls of cheese and on my cucumber so that it can soak up that delicious flavor. And she's gonna take that out to the guests and pass it around with those salmon cucumber rounds. The next, I'm just gonna give my board a quick wipe here. The next thing I'm going to be working on is a prosciutto wrapped melon. I'm gonna cut this melon just as I would a watermelon. This is a honeydew. You can use cantaloupe. You could use papaya. You could use steamed asparagus. I've done that as well. People really love that one. You can do little, little cubes of melon instead of slices like I'm going to show you, and stick a little toothpick in them. I'm going to do them like a half moon. This way everyone can pick it up. Last season you may have seen me make a platter like this with pears and arugula, but I'm a hands-on girl, so I just, scoop the middle of the melon out with my fingers into my garbage sink. As you guys have seen on the last 2 seasons, I just throw all my garbage in the sink, and then at the end of my cooking prep, I just clean it all up. Got these beautiful halves of this honeydew, so I'm going to cut them this way so I can get some really nice half moons. I've purchased some really thinly cut prosciutto. I want it as thin as possible so that it will wrap easily and that we don't have too tough of a bite when you're biting into it. When you have MmmChef come and cater and do an in-home cooking or on-site cooking for one of your dinner parties, whether it's a cocktail party, a buffet style, or a plated style party, what's great is that we can do it all to nothing at all. We can come and take care of all of the food shopping, preparing, plating, serving, and then once I serve dessert, sometimes I'll actually leave my assistant and she will do all of the cleanup and all of the putting of everything away so that you don't have to do anything. It's really great for people who are having a party and they want to make sure that they have the time to focus on and spending time with their guests. Holiday season is a wonderful time to have a personal chef come and do a dinner party in your home. It's a great break from, having to do all the work yourself, but it's more custom than going to a restaurant because I work with each one of my clients individually to create a menu that is fit not only to them and their guests, but also to the space that I'm going to be cooking in. This means that everything I do is customized to you, and all of the flavor profiles of everything that I make are customized to you. So I don't have menus necessarily that I share with my clients. I can make suggestions to help them get those creative juices going in their brain, but I actually like to have a conversation with each client, whether it's for a cocktail party, a holiday party, a wedding, a shower, doesn't really matter. I work with each person to create something that is unique and exactly what they envisioned. Look how pretty that green is on top of that blue plate with the melon. We can also use all of your stuff and use your platters and your cutting boards and your cooking utensils, or we can bring all of our own. This is all up to you. We can also do rentals. So if you're having a party with more than 24 people, I can arrange getting rentals of glassware, plates, cutlery, any of those types of things that you might need so that we don't have to mess up your stuff and your kitchen, and we can just use rented stuff that we can take back dirty and don't even have to wash. How cool and convenient is that? This is lovely. I'm going to make 2 more. We have 8 people tonight, so I want to make sure that everyone gets plenty, as this is a party where we're not having a real main course and it's more small bites all throughout the evening. We want to make sure that there's 2 to 3 bites of every item for every person. That's a good rule to have. If you're ever doing a party for yourself and it's a cocktail style party, I like the rule of 2 to 3 bites per person of each item. This is a beautiful platter. Let me garnish this with some arugula microgreens. And I'll have my assistant come and take this and pass this around. I'm gonna get this all cleaned up while my guests are enjoying their first 4 appetizers. And after the break, I'm gonna be setting up some chicken skewers, some shrimp skewers, and a few other things before we get to the sweet dessert. See you after the break.
This program is brought to you in part by Findlay Foods, providing wholesale food distribution services including gluten-free, halal, kosher, and many other products in the Ottawa and Kingston areas.
Food and discussion go hand in hand. Join the conversation on Instagram at @MmmChef. Send us your questions. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you like to make. Maybe even send a picture of your own culinary creations. Good food, bringing people together for centuries.
I am back with my second round of appetizers. My assistant is out there filling glasses of wine, and my clients are enjoying the last little bit of the abundance board, but they're almost done their last appetizer platter, so I better get going. I mentioned I'm doing some skewers, so I've got my oven set to 400, and these three things I'm about to make kind of take a little bit different of time. So I have some chicken breasts that I've pre-skewered. This is actually 3 breasts that I cut into, I guess 16 pieces to make 8 skewers. If you saw last season, my salmon episode, my favorite way to make salmon has also now become one of my favorite ways to make chicken skewers. So I have an everything but the bagel seasoning here. If you want to learn how to make this seasoning from scratch, you can watch my salmon episode from season 2. But it's basically dark and light sesame seeds, garlic, onion, salt, pepper, poppy seeds, and a few other things in there like flaked dried onion. My chicken already has a little bit of moisture on the outside, so it sticks really nicely to that. You could do these on the barbecue, and I have done skewers on the barbecue, but in the middle of winter, when it usually is holiday season, having the oven going for a dinner party is much more convenient for me than walking through the guests to try to get to the barbecue. And it also allows for ease because I can just pop things in the oven and get to the other items that I need to make. I'm gonna coat these guys up. Then I'm going to just thinly slice some basil and put that on top of this. This will have enough flavor, and this way when the client is holding the chicken skewer up like that, they won't have any sauce dripping on their hands or anything like that because all of the flavor is already in the crust. Yum. Earlier in the break when you weren't here, I also threw a handful of basil and 2 garlic cloves, some olive oil, and a little pinch of salt into my Vitamix blender and got it really nice. And that is what I coated my shrimp skewers here with. What's great about having my assistant with me is she comes and helps me prepare stuff. So while I was making sauces and stuff like that, she was able to skewer these proteins for me and help me clean up my dishes so that my kitchen always looks really nice and presentable for my guests while I'm preparing. Fit this guy here. Let me pop these guys into the oven because chicken will take the longest out of shrimp and mushroom caps. The thing that will go the fastest is the mushroom caps, so I'm going to do my mushroom caps next. These mushroom caps are something that I do in a bite size just like this, or you can do in a larger portobello mushroom and use that as part of a main course or as the side to go with a lovely salad. This is my husband Wendell's favorite thing, and when he heard that I was making these today, he was jealous. These are some pretty cremini mushrooms. You can use white button mushrooms or whatever you like. I've taken the inside stems out. I've got a bowl here, and in this bowl, I'm going to put about 2 to 3 tablespoons of goat cheese. You could use cream cheese here. That would work well as well. And now I'm just gonna chop a few things to go in. I have these beautiful sun-dried tomatoes, and they come in oil. They're really nice. I'm going to chop up 3 of them. You need a really sharp knife to get this going. We want this oil and all this flavor. We want a little bit of moisture. I'm gonna get that into my goat cheese bowl. Then I have these walnuts here, and I'm gonna chop these up. These act like a breadcrumb. You could use breadcrumbs in place of the chopped walnuts. You could use almonds, almond meal, or whatever nut or seed that you have on hand. I've even done this with hemp seeds before. I like I like walnut the most, sorry. I love the flavor that it gives, and I really enjoy the crunch that it has. So I'm putting some inside my filling. Then I'm actually going to chop a little bit extra to have on the side. And you'll see once I fill my mushrooms, these will act as a little crunchy breadcrumb on the top. So I'll just move those over to the side. All right, here's my filling. Give this a nice stir. There we go. And I'm going to have my mushroom caps. And usually I do this with my fingers, but I fill it just enough that the cheese and filling is just sticking out. And then I dump it into the top of my walnuts, and it gives it kind of like a crust. Get a few more of these done. Look how pretty those are. These will take the second most amount of time. I want to get these in the oven. The chicken will take about 22 minutes at 400 to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. These mushrooms will take anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes. And then my shrimp will actually take the least amount of time. The shrimp are only going to take about 8 minutes in the oven. So I'm doing them in that order, so that way everything comes out of the oven and is fresh for my clients, and I don't have anything kind of just like sitting around waiting and getting soggy or mushy or whatnot. When you're doing a party, when it's cocktail style like this, timing is one of the most important things. And that's actually something I hear a lot from my clients, is that when they try to do a party, that they really have a hard time getting the timing done. So that's one great thing about hiring a professional chef like me to come and do your parties, is that you can make sure that everything is timed properly. Look at that. I have just a little bit of filling left. I won't let that go to waste. I'm gonna pop these guys in the oven. They're going in for about 12 to 15 minutes. And my shrimp, in about 4 minutes, I'll pop those in. And then I have a really quick recipe that people love oh so much. It's a crostini recipe. I have these beautiful crostinis that I got from my local Italian delicatessen store, but you can use baguette that you've sliced thin and toasted in the toaster. You can use a little piece of pita, you could use a cracker, or you could use a piece of my gluten-free focaccia that you may have seen me made in a previous episode. This is just some beautiful crostini that I'm going to drizzle with some olive oil. I'm going to slice up a few of these nice little tomatoes that have lots of juice in them. I'll do one per. Look at that. We want that juice to come out of the tomato, just like in my tomato salad. We want the juice to soak into the bread. If you get the butt of a tomato, you can actually rub it in. I like to do that a lot. It imparts a lot of flavor on my bread. Then I'm going to add some really super thinly sliced red onion. You could use green onion here. You could use shallot. I love the red onion. It's because the color not only is great, but the flavor is even better. And then a little bit of basil on each one. And then I'm going to sprinkle some salt. And my assistant, Alyssa, is going to come and take this so that she can serve this next appetizer to my guests while my skewers are in the oven. Oh no, that happens in real life all the time, because when you're plating things and sometimes in a bit of a rush, you have to fix it. But there is no kitchen problem that cannot be fixed. There you go, that's ready for you. I'm gonna get this cleaned up. I'm going to place my shrimp skewers on my baking pan here and pop those in the oven for about 8 minutes, and we'll see you after the break.
Be sure to follow Daniela on Instagram at MmmChef for all the latest posts, including behind-the-scenes looks of the Simply Cooking set and some delicious culinary creations that will definitely make you hungry. After all, we do eat with our eyes.
I have my proteins out of the oven and my mushroom caps. Look how beautiful this looks with the everything but the bagel seasoning. Nice and crispy and just smells so delicious. My assistant's gonna take that to my guests because they finished the crostini and all of the other appetizers that we've served them so far. We cleaned off the platter that we used for the melon, and I've put my hot mushroom caps. As you can see, the nuts have caramelized, and so has some of the goat cheese. I really like to garnish these with some microgreens. This is some arugula microgreen, my favorite kind. You've heard me say this before, but even in a holiday dinner party situation, we care about nutrition. And the most nutrient-dense plant foods are the babies. And these little microgreens are no exception. And now you can buy microgreens right at the grocery store in the salad section, which is something that really wasn't seen until a few years ago. So that's a really neat thing as well. So you can make a dinner party with some fancy stuff from your regular grocery store. Just gonna take those out for me as well. I have my shrimp skewers that I had coated in a blend of just garlic, olive oil, and a little bit of basil. I have a few little pieces of basil that I'm just going to make into little chiffonades so that I can garnish and she can get these out. Nothing like the smell of fresh basil. I'll have her take those too. And while my guests are enjoying the warm part, as you see, we kind of started with the charcuterie / abundance board, and then we moved on to the cold appetizers, like the tomato crostinis and the caprese skewers. And then we finish off with the hot appetizers. And then after we've had the hot appetizers, which in my mind I kind of treat as the main part of the cocktail meal, we move on to dessert. Let me grab my platter. I have individual tiramisus that I've built inside these pretty little mason jars. I am not going to show you the recipe for the tiramisu because I did that in my coffee episode. So if you want to see how to make the filling for these jars, you can check out that episode. But basically it's some ladyfinger cookies that I made from scratch and soaked in some brewed espresso coffee. And I layered that with a whipped cream and mascarpone cheese combination with vanilla extract and sugar. I'm going to put some local pretty strawberries on top of each one. I've also made some chocolate covered strawberries. These are definitely two of my most popular desserts when it comes to a cocktail party. These are easy to grab with your fingers and take a bite. And I love to put desserts in jars because you can just hand the jar right to the guest and they can eat it all up with their spoon. It's an easy cleanup and a really pretty presentation. I can't resist. I have some melted chocolate left over here from dipping my strawberries. And while my guests finish their main courses and I let this come to temperature, I have to sneak a taste. Whenever I'm doing a dinner party, there always is a certain level of quality control, making sure that every little piece that I'm plating for my client and every single flavor has that bite and that special je ne sais quoi that I'm looking for. You know what I think I'm going to do? This is a semi-sweet 70% dark chocolate. And I'm going to actually add a little sprinkle of salt on top of each one of my chocolate covered strawberries because that is just going to bring this up right to the next gourmet level. You hear me talk about sweet, salty, sour, and all of the different contrasts in flavors. Well, this right here, this is going to wow my guests. Let me put this platter out and I'll have my assistant be careful when she grabs that. I hope you had fun at my holiday party and that I gave you some inspiration to either throw your own cocktail party or maybe to reach out to me on my website at www.mmchef.com to book me and my assistant for your own cocktail party. We'll see you next time.